Welcome to Monk's Temple. Let the world outside grow quiet now. Let the weight of your day begin to soften, to settle. You might be sitting, or lying down, or standing still, it doesn't matter. Just arrive here, fully, in this moment. Feel the breath entering and leaving. There is nothing to achieve, nowhere to go. Only this gentle, shared presence. And within this quiet space, I invite you to explore something timeless, something that has offered solace and direction for countless hearts over millennia. In the heart of Buddhism, there is a beautiful, foundational practice known as taking refuge. It is not about running away. It is about turning toward, with trust, toward three sources of unwavering wisdom and comfort. These are called the three jewels. Tonight, we will explore them, but not in the order you may expect. We will not begin at the beginning. We will begin in the middle of the story, where the walking happens, where the path unfolds beneath your own feet. Let's begin not with the teacher, but with the teaching itself. Let's begin with the Dharma. Sometimes, when people hear the word Dharma, they think of ancient texts, of complex philosophies written in languages long still. But the Dharma, in the living tradition of Buddhism, is far more intimate than that. It is the truth of how things are. It is the compassionate, clear set of instructions left by one who understood life deeply, instructions not carved in stone, but woven into the very fabric of experience, into the rise and fall of feelings, into the cause and effect of actions, into the nature of a thought as it appears and vanishes. Imagine for a moment that you are in a vast, beautiful, but sometimes bewildering landscape. There are sunny meadows and clear streams, but also deep ravines, tangled thickets, and sudden storms. You feel lost, unsure which way leads to safety, to peace. The Dharma is not a rescue party that carries you out. It is the patient, detailed guidebook that teaches you how to navigate this very landscape. It shows you how to find true north by observing the stars within your own mind. It teaches you which inner waters are safe to drink from, and which will deepen your thirst. It explains the weather patterns of your emotions so you can prepare, so you can find shelter before the storm of anger or sorrow breaks. It is, in essence, a reliable map of reality itself. Therefore, going for refuge in the Dharma is not an act of blind belief in a distant ideal. It is an act of practical trust and engaged curiosity. It is saying, I will try using this map. I will test these instructions in the laboratory of my own life. The core of Buddhism rests in this very testing, this practice. It is applying the teaching of impermanence when your heart is breaking over a loss, gently reminding yourself that all things change. It is applying the teaching of mindfulness when anxiety shouts loud, by simply feeling the soles of your feet on the floor, anchoring in the physical present. It is applying the teaching of right action when you're tempted by shortcuts that harm yourself or others. The refuge is in the doing. I recall a time in my own journey when the inner landscape felt particularly harsh and desolate. A series of disappointments had left me feeling fragile, as if I were made of glass that had cracked. I knew the words of the Dharma intellectually, I could talk about acceptance, about letting go, but they felt theoretical, like beautiful paintings of water while I remained parched. One gray afternoon, sitting on a park bench with a heavy heart, the teaching that surfaced was almost absurdly simple. What is actually happening right now? I gently pulled my awareness away from the looping stories of regret and worry. What was actually here? The chill of the air. The solid wood beneath me. The sound of a distant bird. The tight, aching sensation in my throat, just as a sensation, not as the story of my failure. For a few minutes, I simply rested in the question, what is here, now? And something shifted. The landscape of my despair did not magically become a meadow, but it lost its solid, imprisoning quality. It became a collection of passing phenomena, sensations, sounds, thoughts arising and passing. It became workable. That was taking true refuge in the Dharma. It was using the simplest tool from the guidebook to find my bearings. The map proved trustworthy. This is why the Dharma is cherished as a jewel. It is of immense, practical value. It does not promise a life without ravines or storms. It promises you the skills, the resilience, and the wisdom to walk through them without being destroyed, to even learn from them. It transforms confusion into clarity, reactive habit into mindful response, personal suffering into universal understanding. And as we learn to use these tools, to walk with this map, a beautiful thing happens. We naturally lift our gaze. We see others in the same vast landscape. Some are studying their own maps intently. Some are walking with confidence. Some are sitting by the path, looking lost. This natural, compassionate gaze outward brings us to the second jewel, the Sangha, the community of fellow travelers. We'll explore that refuge of companionship next. Before we continue on this shared path, if the peace and clarity of this exploration resonates with you, if you feel a sense of coming home to a quieter way of being, I gently invite you to subscribe to Monk's Temple. Your subscription is like lighting a lantern in this shared space. It helps maintain this sanctuary of calm and wisdom, allowing it to remain a refuge for you and for others in the midst of a busy, noisy world. Thank you. Let us continue this quiet journey together. Having felt the solidity of the Dharma beneath our feet, that reliable map of reality, we now lift our gaze. We look around. And we see we are not walking alone. This brings us gently to the second of the three jewels in Buddhism, the Sangha. This word can conjure images of serene monks in quiet monasteries, and that is one beautiful form of it. But the Sangha, in its deepest and most accessible sense, is the spiritual community. It is the fellowship of all beings who are sincerely walking the path of awakening. It is anyone who, in their own way, is trying to live with more awareness, more kindness, more peace. Why is this considered a jewel, a refuge equal to the profound teachings themselves? Because we are not islands. Our understanding deepens in the reflection of others. Our inspiration is kindled by shared aspiration. Our courage is fortified by supportive presence. Imagine again that you are navigating that vast inner landscape with your Dharma map. You are learning, but some passages are cryptic. Some climbs are steep, and your energy flags. Then, you crest a hill and see a welcoming camp in a clearing below. A fire is lit. Around it are others. Some are seasoned guides, their faces calm and eyes knowing. Some are fellow newcomers, their eyes wide with the same wonder and trepidation you feel. They make space for you. You share what you've learned about finding berries, they show you a better way to tie your shelter. When doubt whispers that the map is wrong, they share their own stories of how it guided them through similar valleys. When you are weary, they offer not pity, but the simple, powerful gift of shared silence. This is the Sangha. It is the living container for the practice. It makes the solitary path a shared pilgrimage. It is the proof that the Dharma is not just an idea, but a lived experience passed from heart to heart. A memory from my own path comes to mind. For a long time, my practice was a private, intellectual affair. I read, I meditated alone, I wrestled with my mind in solitude. It was meaningful, but it also felt heavy, like a burden I carried by myself. Then, I was invited to join a small, informal sitting group. We met weekly in a quiet room. We didn't discuss deep philosophy. We simply sat together in silence for 30 minutes, then shared a pot of tea. Yet, the quality of my own stillness transformed. In the shared silence of a dozen others also choosing to be present, my own restless thoughts seemed to settle more easily. The collective intention created a field of calm that held my individual effort. My struggle was no longer a lonely one. That humble group became my Sangha, a refuge not in words, but in shared, wordless commitment. It taught me that community is not always about conversation. Sometimes, it is about the powerful communion of shared silence, moving together toward the same quiet shore. The Sangha serves as a mirror. In the patience of a teacher, we see the embodiment of the Dharma we are trying to learn. In the kindness of a fellow traveler who listens without judgment, we see the compassion we wish to cultivate. And sometimes, in the friction or challenge posed by others, we are shown our own hidden rough edges, our impatience, our pride, offering us the perfect, gritty sandpaper to smooth them away through practice. Taking refuge here is an act of humble belonging. It is acknowledging, I am not a perfect practitioner on a solitary mountain. I am a student among students. We forget together, remember together, and help each other stay on the path. This concept of community is not an add-on in Buddhism. It is integral. The historical Buddha, after his great awakening, did not remain in secluded bliss. He sought out his former companions to teach them what he had found. He intentionally founded an order, a Sangha, to preserve, practice, and propagate the teachings. He knew wisdom needs a vessel, a living lineage of practitioners to keep the flame alive across generations. Therefore, taking refuge in the Sangha connects you to that ancient, unbroken stream of seeking and finding. It allows your small, individual light to be kindled from a fire that has been tended for over 2.5 millennia. Now, with the supportive embrace of the community around us, and the trusted map of the Dharma in our hands, we can finally turn our attention to the source of the light that started it all. We look to the one who first saw the way, who drew the original map, and whose very life became the inspiration for the entire journey. This leads us back to the beginning, to the first jewel, the Buddha. We will explore that luminous source in our next part. Let's move deeper into our shared exploration. We have the map, the Dharma. We have the fellowship, the Sangha. Now, let us turn our attention to the origin, the source of the light that created both. We arrive at the first jewel, the Buddha. In Buddhism, this name holds profound significance, yet its true meaning is remarkably simple and empowering. The Buddha is not a deity to be worshipped from afar. The word itself means, the awakened one. It points to a state of being, a state of complete understanding and freedom, achieved by a specific human being, Siddhartha Gautama, over 2,500 years ago. Taking refuge in the Buddha is, at its heart, taking refuge in the very possibility of awakening. It is placing our trust and aspiration in the living proof that a person, starting from the same confusion and longing we all experience, can attain unshakable peace, boundless wisdom, and unconditional compassion. Why is this a refuge? Because it redefines the boundaries of human potential. In our moments of deepest struggle, we can feel imprisoned by our own minds, convinced that our fears, our habits, our wounds are permanent and defining. The story of the Buddha is the ultimate testament to the contrary. It is the story of a man who looked directly at the universal realities of birth, aging, sickness, and death, and refused to accept that suffering was the final word on existence. He embarked on an epic inner quest, leaving behind every comfort and certainty. He studied with the greatest spiritual masters of his time, mastered their disciplines, and realized these paths did not lead to the end of suffering. He then sat down, alone, and turned his awareness inward with unimaginable resolve. He faced the totality of his own mind, its shadows, its illusions, its endless chatter, and did not look away. Through his own diligent investigation, he discovered the root causes of suffering and the practical path to its end. He woke up. And then, motivated by immense compassion, he spent the remainder of his life creating a way to teach what he had realized, giving the world the Dharma. Therefore, when we go for refuge to the Buddha, we are not bowing to an external savior. We are aligning our hearts with the highest potential within ourselves. We are drawing inspiration from the ultimate role model. He is the pioneer who reached the summit of human understanding and returned to show us the trail. In our own difficult times, we can inwardly ask, how would one who is awake meet this challenge? Not to find a magical solution, but to connect with that energy of profound clarity, patience, and fearless compassion. This shifts our perspective from being passive victims of circumstance to being active participants in our own liberation. I remember a personal encounter that, for me, embodied this spirit of refuge. Years ago, I met a man who had been a gardener for a large monastery. He had little formal education and spoke simply. One day, a violent storm devastated the monastery's cherished, ancient gardens. Many of us were distraught, seeing years of beauty destroyed in hours. The gardener walked through the mud and wreckage, silent. Then he began to work. He didn't lament. He simply started clearing the broken branches, assessing what could be saved, gently replanting what had been uprooted. I asked him later how he remained so calm in the face of such loss. He looked at me, his hands covered in earth, and said, "The storm is not personal. The garden is always changing. My job is not to keep it as it was. My job is to care for what is here now, and help what is new to grow." In his unassuming way, he was taking refuge in the Buddha. He was embodying the awakened response, seeing reality without illusion, the storm, the impermanence, meeting it with compassion, the caring action, without attachment to how things should be. He was a living mirror of that awakened nature, not as a distant historical figure, but as a present, active principle of resilience and clear seeing. This is the real refuge, knowing the path exists because a human being, with a body and mind like ours, walked it to its end. His life is the ultimate validation that liberation is not a myth, but a tangible possibility for every one of us. Now we have met all three jewels individually. Yet, their true power, their complete shelter, is not found in isolation. It blossoms in their beautiful, interdependent dance. They form a perfect cycle of inspiration, method, and support, each one feeding and sustaining the others. We will explore that sacred interrelationship next. Now, let us weave these three strands together. We have met the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha as distinct jewels, each shining with its own light. But their true refuge, their complete sanctuary, is revealed in how they interlock, how they support and define one another. They are not three separate destinations, but three aspects of a single journey home. In Buddhism, this interdependence is not just philosophical, it is practical, experiential, and vital for a balanced spiritual life. Imagine a beautiful, ancient tree. The Buddha is the seed from which the entire tree grew, the potential, the origin, the encoded blueprint for awakening. The Dharma is the trunk and the branches, the structure, the growth process, the means by which the tree reaches toward the light. The Sangha is the leaves and the root system, the network that breathes, exchanges, gathers nourishment, and connects the tree to the forest around it. Without the seed, no tree exists. Without the strong trunk, the seed's potential cannot rise. Without the leaves and roots, the tree cannot sustain its life. All three are essential for the tree to be alive, flourishing, and offering shade. Taking refuge, therefore, is not a matter of choosing one jewel over the others. It is stepping into the living system they create together. The Buddha inspires us, but without the Dharma, that inspiration remains a beautiful daydream. The Dharma guides us, but without the Sangha, the path can feel lonely and impossibly steep. The Sangha supports us, but without the Buddha and Dharma, the community lacks direction and purpose. They complete each other. A personal story comes to mind. Early in my practice, I was intensely inspired by the figure of the Buddha, the seed. I read every biography, moved by his determination. But I struggled to meditate consistently. My inspiration was like a seed held tightly in my hand. It had potential, but it wasn't planted. Then, I joined a meditation group, the Sangha, the leaves and roots. Their steady presence gave me the support to establish a daily practice, the Dharma, the trunk. The practice, in turn, deepened my understanding of the Buddha's teachings, making my initial inspiration more mature, more real. The seed was finally in the soil, the trunk grew stronger, the leaves gathered light. Each jewel made the others come alive. This is the integrated refuge, a dynamic, self-sustaining system of growth. We can see this interplay in every aspect of the path. When you sit to meditate and your mind is frantic, you might remember the Buddha's perseverance under the Bodhi tree, inspiration. You then apply the Dharma instruction to gently return to the breath, method. Afterwards, you might share your struggle with a trusted friend on the path, and their understanding smile gives you the encouragement to sit again tomorrow, support. Or, when faced with a moral dilemma, you recall the Sangha's shared commitment to compassion, support, you consult the Dharma's teachings on right action, method, and you reflect on how the Buddha himself would have acted with wisdom, inspiration. The three jewels become an inner council, a complete guidance system. They ensure our spiritual life is not lopsided, not just intellectual, not just devotional, not just communal, but a harmonious blend of all three. This balance is a hallmark of the Buddhist path. It protects us from the extremes of dry intellectualism, blind faith, or social spirituality without personal depth. Let me offer another metaphor. Think of a journey across a wide, deep river. The Buddha is the far shore, the place of peace and freedom you can see, the destination that gives you the hope to cross. The Dharma is the raft, the vessel, the specific teachings and practices you use to make the crossing. The Sangha are your fellow travelers in the raft, those who help you row, who steady the boat when the currents are strong, who remind you to keep going when the far shore seems distant. You need to see the shore to want to cross. You need the raft to make the crossing possible. And you need companions to help you navigate the journey. To leave any one element behind is to risk never reaching the other side. Taking refuge is your conscious decision to get into that raft, with those companions, and to set out for that shore, trusting the process completely. This understanding transforms refuge from a recitation into a living orientation. It becomes a way of moving through the world. When challenged, you naturally seek inspiration in the awakened ones, guidance in the teachings, and strength in the community. This trifold refuge creates a stability that external circumstances cannot shake. We are held, not by a single thread, but by a woven net of wisdom, practice, and fellowship. Now that we have seen how the jewels work together as a system, let's explore what it means to truly take refuge, not as a one-time event, but as a moment-to-moment practice of homecoming. We'll examine the inner gesture of refuge itself. Let us now explore the inner gesture, the heart movement, of taking refuge itself. It is one thing to understand the three jewels intellectually, the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha. It is another to genuinely turn toward them as a sanctuary for your being. In Buddhism, this turning is not a passive surrender, but an active alignment. It is not about giving up your power, but about connecting to a source of strength and wisdom far greater than your isolated self. Imagine you are standing in an open field as a storm approaches. The wind picks up, the sky darkens. Taking refuge is not merely acknowledging that a sturdy house exists somewhere in the distance. It is the conscious, deliberate decision to walk toward that house, open the door, and step inside. It is an act of trust, of wisdom, and of self-care. What does this inner movement feel like? It often begins with a recognition of dukkha, a word in Buddhism often translated as suffering, but which more deeply means the pervasive sense of unease, dissatisfaction, or vulnerability in life. It is the feeling of being exposed to the storm. When we feel this, in the form of anxiety, grief, confusion, or even a subtle background hum of stress, we have a choice. We can try to outrun the storm, to distract ourselves, to build a flimsy shelter of our own opinions and habits. Or, we can seek true shelter. Taking refuge is choosing the true shelter. It is the moment you inwardly say, I cannot face this storm alone with my limited resources. I turn toward the wisdom of those who have understood life deeply. I turn toward the teachings that explain this very weather of the heart. I turn toward the community that reminds me I don't have to face it in isolation. This turning is deeply personal. For some, it might be a quiet whisper during meditation, I take refuge in my own capacity for awareness. For others, it might be the conscious decision to pause and breathe, Dharma, instead of reacting in anger. It might be the act of reaching out to a wise friend, Sangha, when you feel lost. Or it might be reflecting on a story of the Buddha's compassion, Buddha, to find strength in a moment of judgment. The form is less important than the sincere direction of the heart. It is a reorientation from confusion to clarity, from isolation to connection, from fear to trust. A story from my own experience illustrates this. Years ago, I was tasked with delivering a public talk for the first time to a large audience. As the date approached, a torrent of fear arose. Fear of failure, of judgment, of embarrassment. My old habit was to fuel this fear with frantic preparation and obsessive worry, a flimsy shelter indeed. The morning of the talk, paralyzed, I sat quietly. The thought arose, I need refuge. It wasn't a formal prayer. It was a simple, desperate inner reaching. First, I remembered the Dharma teaching on impermanence. This fear, like all things, will change. I let that teaching hold me, refuge in Dharma. Then, I thought of my teacher, a person of great calm, and imagined their steadying presence, refuge in Sangha. Finally, I contemplated the Buddha's fearlessness in teaching the truth even when it was unwelcome, refuge in Buddha. I didn't chant. I just let these 3 points of reference become my inner sanctuary. The fear did not vanish, but it ceased to be the center of my universe. It became a passing weather pattern within the vast, stable sky of the refuge I had consciously entered. That was the inner gesture. It changed everything about how I walked into that room. Therefore, going for refuge is the core spiritual act in Buddhism. It is the repeated practice of coming home to what is true and reliable. It counters our deeply conditioned habit of seeking security in the unreliable, in changing circumstances, in others' opinions, in material possessions, or in our own shifting moods. The 3 jewels are called jewels precisely because they are considered incorruptible, of supreme value, and able to withstand the test of any storm. By aligning with them, we gradually internalize their qualities. We begin to discover the Buddha nature, the capacity for awakening, as our own true nature. The Dharma becomes less an external teaching and more the natural law of our own wise heart. The Sangha expands from a specific group to the interconnected web of all life. The refuge becomes less something you go to, and more something you realize you have never left. This understanding leads us to a beautiful conclusion. Taking refuge is ultimately about uncovering the sanctuary that has always been within you. The 3 jewels are the pointers, the guides, that lead you back to your own awakened heart, your own innate wisdom, your own fundamental connection to all beings. The journey outward to the refuge is, paradoxically, the journey inward to your true home. Now, to bring these principles to life, let us immerse ourselves in stories. Stories are the language of the heart. They allow wisdom to slip past our intellectual defenses and take root in our deeper understanding. I will share a series of original tales, each one a lantern meant to illuminate a different facet of taking refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Let us now rest in the gentle power of story. Here, wisdom wears a narrative cloak, allowing it to touch us not just in the mind, but in the heart's quiet chambers. I will share a series of tales, each a unique lantern meant to illuminate a facet of taking refuge. We begin not with the Buddha, but with the living practice, the Dharma. In a village known for its clay, there were 2 potters. The first, Kavi, was a master of technique. He knew every formula for glaze, every method for the wheel. His pots were perfect, symmetrical, and identical. The second, Mala, worked slowly. She would sit with a lump of clay for a long time before touching it, feeling its readiness. Her pots were often uneven, bearing the imprint of her thumb, the slight wobble of her wheel. One year, a great drought dried the river that fed their clay pits. Kavi, reliant on his precise formulas, found his clay brittle and unworkable. He grew angry and despaired, his perfect technique useless. Mala went to the dry riverbed. She sat in the dust, placed her hands on the cracked earth, and simply waited. She listened. After a time, she began to gather not the old, fine clay, but the dusty topsoil, mixing it slowly with the last of her water, forming a coarse, new blend. She shaped this rough clay into simple, humble bowls. They were not beautiful by old standards, but they held water perfectly. When the villagers came, parched, it was Mala's bowls that served them. Covey asked her secret. Mala said, I took refuge not in the method, but in the truth of the material. The Dharma is not in the perfect recipe. It is in listening to what is true now, and working wisely with that. Her refuge was in the direct, adaptable truth of the moment, the essence of Dharma practice. In a sprawling city, there was a night watchman named Arlo. His job was to walk the empty corridors of a vast museum, guarding priceless artifacts. For years, he walked in boredom, his mind filled with thoughts of the past and worries for the future. One night, a storm knocked out the power. In the profound silence and darkness, his flashlight failed. For a moment, panic seized him. Then, with no light but the occasional flash of lightning through high windows, he was forced to move slowly. He felt the cool marble floor under his feet. He heard the echo of his own breath in the grand halls. He began to notice things he'd never seen. The texture of a tapestry revealed in a lightning flash, the sound of rain on the glass dome. He realized he was not just guarding objects, he was present in a living, breathing space. When the power returned, his walk was transformed. He was no longer a guard watching time pass, he was a man deeply present in his own life. Arlo had, in the darkness, taken refuge in mindfulness, a core Dharma teaching. He found his sanctuary not in changing his circumstance, but in awakening to the richness of his direct experience within it. Between two villages lay a deep gorge, crossed by an old, weary rope bridge. The bridge sighed and groaned with every crossing. The villagers complained constantly. It sways too much, said one. It is too old, said another. They dreamed of a strong, silent stone bridge. One day, a wise traveler listened to their complaints. Then she asked, "Have you ever thanked the bridge?" The villagers were confused. The traveler walked onto the bridge. She did not fight its sway. She moved with it, step by step, feeling its give and take. Midway, she stopped and simply said, "Thank you." She explained to the villagers, this bridge teaches the Dharma of interdependence and gratitude. It sways, reminding you to find your balance in movement, not in rigidity. It groans, a reminder of service. It connects you, not in perfect stillness, but in dynamic, supportive relationship. Your refuge is not in the future stone bridge, but in understanding and honoring this one. The villagers began to cross with care and gratitude. They discovered that peace was not in replacing the bridge, but in changing their relationship to it, a lesson in taking refuge in the Dharma of things as they are. A gardener was plagued by a wild, thorny bush that grew at the edge of her perfect garden. Every season she hacked at it, yet it grew back thicker. She poured poison on its roots, but it spread. Exhausted and resentful, she finally sat down and simply observed it. She noticed birds nesting deep within its protective thorns. She saw bees visiting its small, tough flowers. She realized the bush was not an enemy to her garden, but a fortress for life. She stopped fighting. She began to trim it not with anger, but with respect, shaping it gently, harvesting its flowers for tea. The bush, met not with war but with understanding, became a beautiful, integrated part of the landscape. The gardener had taken refuge in the Dharma of right view. She replaced the view of enemy with the view of interdependent life, and in doing so, found peace and harmony where there was only struggle before. These stories are but the first of our lanterns. They show us that taking refuge in the Dharma is an active, intelligent, and compassionate engagement with reality as it meets us. It is the practice of finding the truest response, not the most habitual one. Let us continue with our stories, turning our gaze now to the second jewel, the Sangha. These tales explore the refuge found in community, connection, and the shared journey of awakening. In a valley between two mountains, there was a village where no one spoke. It was not a rule, but a gentle custom born from a shared understanding that some truths are felt beyond words. Each evening, as the sun set, the villagers would gather in the central square. They did not converse. Instead, one would begin to hum a single, clear note. Then another would join, finding a harmony. Another would add a lower tone. Soon, the entire village became a living choir, weaving a tapestry of sound without a conductor, without a sheet of music. Travelers passing through would sit in awe, feeling a profound peace they couldn't explain. A young visitor once asked an elder, "How do you know what note to sing?" The elder smiled and placed the visitor's hand on his own chest, then on the chest of the person beside him. "We listen," he said, "not to the ears, but to the space between hearts. We take refuge not in our individual voice, but in the song that wishes to be sung through us all." This is the Sangha as a refuge of deep, wordless resonance, where individual practice harmonizes into a collective peace that sustains everyone. An old monastery perched on a cliff path was known for the line of lanterns that lit the way for night travelers. Each monk was responsible for keeping one lantern filled with oil and shining brightly. One night, a storm shattered the glass of a young monk's lantern. He was filled with shame. He hid the broken lantern and sat in the dark, fearing the consequences. As night fell, he saw the other lanterns glowing down the path, but a dark gap existed where his light should have been. Then, he noticed something. The monk from the next lantern down had seen the gap. Without a word, that monk shifted his position slightly, so his light stretched to cover the darkness. Then the monk on the other side did the same. Soon, the entire line of light was continuous again, not from individual, perfect lanterns, but from their adjusted, collective glow. The young monk understood. He brought his broken lantern to the elders not as a failure, but as a lesson. The Sangha is not a collection of perfect individuals. It is a network of beings who, through awareness and care, adjust their light to cover each other's breaks and shadows. Refuge is found in this adaptable, compassionate interdependence. In a harsh land, a teacher gave each student a delicate seed and said, "Grow this. Your nourishment depends on it." One student planted his in a rich, isolated pot indoors. Another planted hers in the rocky, communal ground of the monastery garden. The winter was cruel. The student indoors tended his plant diligently, but despite his efforts, it grew frail and yellow, starved of something he couldn't provide. The student in the garden watched as her seed seemed to vanish into the hard earth. But she tended the garden itself, watering, weeding, sharing the space with others. When spring came, her seed had not only sprouted but was strong and deep-rooted, having intertwined with the roots of the older plants in the garden, which had shared their sustenance and strength through the frozen soil. The isolated plant, for all its careful tending, had died. The teacher said, "The Dharma is the seed. But the Sangha is the living soil." A seed alone, however well kept, cannot survive the winter of practice. It is the interconnected root system. The shared resilience, the pooled wisdom, the silent nourishment passed beneath the surface, that is the true refuge. This story reminds us that our spiritual growth is often sustained not by our solitary effort, but by the invisible network of support we are part of. A town was plagued by strife. Every disagreement escalated, every difference became a division. A wise woman arrived and, instead of giving a sermon, built a simple gate at the town's entrance. But this gate had no door. Instead, its arch was lined with many small, polished mirrors, all angled inward. When people walked through the gate, they did not see the face of the person approaching from the other side. Instead, they saw their own reflection, multiplied and looking back from every angle. Arguments began to falter. A person rushing in anger to confront a neighbor would see only their own angry face staring back. Someone filled with grief would see their own sorrow reflected. Slowly, people began to pause in the gate. They would adjust their expression, smooth their brow, take a breath. By the time they met the other person, they had first met themselves. The wise woman said, "The true Sangha is not the group that always agrees. It is the community that serves as a clear mirror. It reflects you back to yourself with such honesty that you cannot remain blind to your own state." Taking refuge in the Sangha means having the courage to walk through the mirror gate. To let the community show you who you are, so you can choose who you wish to be. The refuge here is in truthful reflection, the first step toward genuine change and harmony. These stories of Sangha show us that refuge in community is about more than just companionship. It is about resonant harmony, compassionate adjustment, deep interconnection, and truthful reflection. The Sangha holds us, not by always being comfortable, but by being real and interconnected. In our next part, we will turn finally to stories illuminating the first jewel, the Buddha, the refuge of inspiration and awakened potential. We now turn our storytelling light toward the first jewel, the Buddha. These tales are not about the historical figure alone, but about the principle he represents, the awakened potential within all beings, the living inspiration that guides us from confusion to clarity. In a village of master woodworkers, there was a sacred tradition. Before apprentices could touch a tool, they were brought to the forest and shown a great, ancient tree. This, the elder would say, is the Buddha. The apprentices were confused. It was just a tree. For years, they studied grain and joinery, chisel and plane. They created intricate sculptures of enlightened beings, yet the elder always said, "You are carving from memory, not from vision." One apprentice, troubled, returned to the ancient tree. He sat for days, watching light and shadow play on its bark, listening to the wind in its leaves. He saw not a tree, but perfect, effortless being. It asked for nothing, offered shade freely, and was utterly itself. He returned to the workshop, looked at a fresh block of wood, and for the first time, he didn't see a thing to be carved. He saw the sculpture already sleeping within it. His hands moved to remove only what hid it. His masterpiece was not a Buddha he imposed, but a Buddha he revealed. The elder smiled. "Now you understand. The Buddha is not a form to be copied. He is the essential nature within all things, waiting to be uncovered." Taking refuge in the Buddha is remembering the uncarved block within yourself, your original, awake nature before the carving of worry, identity, and fear. A fisherman worked the waters near a treacherous coast. His father and grandfather had all relied on the old lighthouse to guide them home. One season, a great storm damaged the lighthouse lens. The keeper, an old man, could not repair it alone. The fisherman, though weary from his own labors, climbed the cliff each dusk to help. For weeks, they worked by lamplight, the fisherman handing tools, holding pieces steady. He grumbled at first, missing his rest. But as they worked, the old keeper spoke not of lenses, but of the sea, of patience, of the countless souls guided by this light over the ages. The night the light was finally relit, the fisherman stood beside the keeper as the beam cut through the darkness. He felt a surge of pride not for his catch that day, but for his part in this greater service. As he sailed home, guided by the very light he helped restore, he realized, the Buddha is not just the light. He is also the keeper, and the act of keeping the light alive. Taking refuge is not passive admiration from the safety of the boat. It is the willing, hands-on participation in the maintenance of wisdom. It is climbing the cliff in your own life to help mend the light, and in doing so, you become part of the guiding refuge for others. Two students sought to understand the nature of the Buddha. The first studied countless texts, collecting descriptions of the Buddha's qualities: compassionate, wise, tranquil. He formed a beautiful, detailed statue from fine clay, painting it with gold. The second student went to the kiln where pottery was fired. She didn't form anything. Instead, she sat and watched the fire. She saw raw, soft clay enter, endure the searing heat, and emerge transformed, hard, resonant, useful. One day, a storm destroyed the first student's painted statue, melting it into mud. He wept over the loss of his perfect image. The second student took a handful of that same mud, shaped a simple bowl, and placed it in the kiln. After the fire, she brought out a vessel that could hold water. She said to her grieving friend, "You took refuge in the description. I took refuge in the transformation." The Buddha is not the painted form. He is the kiln fire of insight that transforms the soft clay of our suffering into the vessel of wisdom. Our refuge is in the process of being fired, not in preserving a fragile image. A young seeker climbed a mountain famed to hold the voice of an ancient sage. At the peak, he shouted his deepest questions into the void. What is the meaning of life? How do I end suffering? Each time, the mountain echoed his own words back to him, perfectly. Frustrated, he yelled, "You are no help." The mountain echoed, "No help." Dejected, he sat in silence. In that quiet, he heard a different sound, the wind through stones, a distant waterfall, his own heartbeat. Then he understood. He whispered, "Thank you." The mountain whispered back, "Thank you." The Buddha, like the mountain, does not give answers you do not already carry. He echoes your own deepest truth back to you until you can hear it. Taking refuge in the Buddha is not about getting external answers. It is about finding the silent, reflecting surface, in teachings, in stories, in contemplation, that allows you to hear the wisdom of your own sincere questions. The refuge is in the echo that leads you back to yourself. These stories reveal the Buddha as refuge in multifaceted ways, as the essential nature to be revealed, as the call to participate in wisdom, as the transformative process itself, and as the mirror for our own inner truth. This refuge is active, intimate, and deeply empowering. Now, having journeyed through stories of each jewel, We will next explore how the practice of refuge meets us in the most challenging moments of human experience, in times of crisis, loss, and fear. Now, let us bring the three jewels from the realm of story and principle into the raw, tender landscape of human difficulty. For a refuge is only truly known when the storm is at its height. In Buddhism, the practice of taking refuge is not merely for calm days, it is the very anchor in the squall. How do the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha function when we are faced with grief, anger, fear, or despair? Let us explore this practical sanctuary. When grief is an ocean. In the face of profound loss, the world can feel like a vast, cold ocean, and we are adrift. Here, the three jewels become a life raft. First, the Buddha, he too knew loss. He witnessed the death of loved ones, the passing of disciples. He did not bypass sorrow, he met it with a boundless, compassionate awareness. Taking refuge here means allowing yourself to remember, you are not wrong for grieving. Your pain is a testament to your capacity to love, a humanity you share with the awakened ones. It is permission to be human, not to be spiritually strong by denying your heart. Then, the Dharma offers the specific practice for these waters. The core teaching here is not to get over it, but to be with it wisely. The Dharma might whisper, let the grief be a wave. Do not build a wall against it, for you will drown in the backlash. Do not become the wave, lost in its story. Instead, float. Breathe. Feel the sensation in the body, the ache, the hollowness, the tears, as pure sensation. Observe the thoughts of loss as passing weather in the mind's sky. This is the practice of mindful observance, the refuge of clear seeing amidst the tempest of feeling. Finally, the Sangha, the community, becomes the warm blanket and the steady hand. It is the friend who sits in silence with you, who does not offer platitudes but brings soup. It is the group that holds space for your brokenness without rushing to fix it. In the shared silence of others who have also known loss, you find a refuge of belonging in your pain. You are not a lonely island in an ocean of sorrow, you are held in the understanding arms of shared human experience. When anger is a fire. Anger can feel like a cleansing fire, but left unchecked, it burns our own house down. In this heat, the three jewels offer a cooling, transformative grace. The Buddha exemplifies immense patience. Stories abound of him facing insults, hostility, and provocation with unshakable calm. Taking refuge in this example is not to suppress anger, but to connect with the possibility of a different response. It is the inner question, what would a mind that is free do with this energy? The Dharma provides the immediate firefighting tools. It teaches, step back. This is the crucial first move. See the anger as a separate event within the vast space of your awareness. What is its fuel? Is it hurt? Fear? A sense of injustice? Observe the physical flames. The clenched jaw, the heated face, the pounding heart. Do not add the logs of vengeful thought. Do not spread the embers with harsh speech. Let the fire of anger burn out on the altar of your own patient, non-judgmental attention. This is the practice of right mindfulness and right effort, a refuge in wise restraint and investigation. The Sangha in moments of anger acts as a grounding rod. It is the person who remains calm in the face of your heat, whose steady presence gives your fury nowhere to latch onto. It is the precepts of the community that remind you of your commitment to do no harm. It is the opportunity, later, to confess your struggle to a trusted companion, not for absolution, but to release the poison of shame and receive the support to try again. The community holds the standard of compassion, reflecting back to you the person you wish to be when the fire cools. When fear is a prison. Anxiety and fear can construct a prison with walls of what if and a ceiling of dread. Here, the three jewels become the key, the open space, and the companion in the dark. The Buddha faced the ultimate fears, of death, of meaninglessness, under the Bodhi tree. He met the armies of temptation and terror not with fight or flight, but with unwavering, fearless presence. Taking refuge in him is remembering that the very ground of being is secure, even when the contents of life feel terrifying. The Dharma offers the liberating instructions. It says, "Come back to the body." Fear lives in the imagined future. Your anchor is the present sensation. Feel your feet on the ground. Feel the breath, however shallow. Name the process. This is fear. This is the mind forecasting danger. See the thoughts as anxious birds flying through the vast sky of your awareness. You are the sky, not the birds. The refuge is in the shift from being trapped in the thought to being aware of the thought. This is the practice of grounding and labeling, a sanctuary found in the immediacy of the present moment. The Sangha becomes the shared candle in the dark cell. It is the meditation group where you sit with others, your individual anxiety dissolving into the collective calm of synchronized breath. It is hearing someone else voice your secret fear and realizing you are not alone, not broken. It is the simple, healing power of togetherness, which reminds the frightened heart that the prison door was never locked from the outside, it was a door we can walk through together. In every crisis, the three jewels provide a complete response system, inspiration, method, and support. They guide us from being overwhelmed by the experience to being a compassionate witness to the experience. This is the ultimate purpose of refuge in Buddhism, not to escape life, but to meet all of life, especially its hardest parts, with wisdom, grace, and connected courage. Having seen how the refuge functions in storms, we will conclude our journey by exploring how this practice becomes a gentle, moment-to-moment homecoming, the cultivation of an inner sanctuary that travels with you wherever you go. And so, our quiet journey together draws to a gentle close. We have wandered through the landscape of the three jewels, not as distant monuments, but as living, breathing aspects of your own awareness. We began in the middle, with the Dharma, the truth of the way things are, the map that lies always in your hand if you choose to read it. We felt the supportive embrace of the Sangha, the community of fellow travelers whose silent presence reminds us we do not walk alone. And we turned our gaze to the inspiring light of the Buddha, the awakened potential that hums within the heart of every being, patiently waiting to be recognized as your own original nature. This practice of taking refuge is not a one-time pledge made in a temple. It is a moment-to-moment homecoming. It is the gentle inward turn when you feel scattered, the remembered breath when the world feels sharp, the glance toward a wiser, kinder way of meeting this instant. It is the cultivation of an inner sanctuary that no external wind can shake. As you move from this shared space back into the flow of your life, carry this with you. When you feel lost, remember the Dharma is under your feet, in the next mindful breath, in the pause before a reaction, in the quiet observation of what is. When you feel alone, remember the Sangha is all around you. In the kind stranger, in the friend who listens, in the unseen community of all who seek peace, across time and space, holding you in an invisible net of goodwill. When you feel small or incapable, remember the Buddha is within you, not as a statue, but as the very capacity to be aware, to be compassionate, to be free. Your ability to listen to these words, to yearn for peace, is the flicker of that same light. The true refuge was never outside of you. The Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha are compassionate fingers pointing you back to the wholeness, wisdom, and connection that have always been the essence of your being. You are not broken, seeking something external to fix you. You are whole, learning to remember, to trust, and to abide in what you already are. May this understanding be a gentle companion. May you find sanctuary in your own breath, wisdom in your own heart, and fellowship in the shared human journey. May you be happy. May you be peaceful. May you be free. Thank you for being here, at Monk's Temple. The conversation does not end, it simply returns to silence, from which all wisdom springs. Carry this peace with you. Good night, dear friend, and be well.